Here are the top 5 AI tools you should be using in every video in Premiere Pro. Let's get straight to it. Number 1 is object tracking. Yes, this is a brand new thing, and you may have to use the beta version of Premiere Pro if you're watching this early to be able to get access to some of these tools. So the first one is just tracking in general. You can actually track quite a few different things. Number 1, you can use the ellipse or the rectangle mask tool down here to select a specific subject. So let's say I wanted to track her head here. I can go ahead up here and select track forward and backward, or you could just do track forward, up to you. And once it's done tracking, it will have a mask created that follows her head. Now, the bigger you make it, the more wide the mask can be. So if you want to be precise, be more precise, but that's not what we're going to be really focusing on here. What I really want to talk to you about is the new object masking tool, which is really cool. Once you select this, it should start bringing up a different toolbox here, and I can now select her whole person, or if I'm on the back here, I can select just the backpack if I wanted to, or just her, or both. If I want to do both, the easiest way is to simply just make a selection all the way around her, and it will then select her whole body. And then we'll go ahead and track forward and backward. If you have multiple people on your screen, you can select one or multiple people. And if it does select more than one person and you only want one, you can actually add or subtract that from this box here. You just click minus and then you select the person you don't want, and then you redo the track. It's pretty easy. So now that this is tracked, we have a completely clean track of a person. So what we can do is we can either select the background by inverting it, or we can keep it the way that it is now. And the cool part you could do is you can actually add like a text layer. So what I'll do is move her up and then move like a text on screen, and obviously it's not showing up yet. And then I'm going to put a clean slate underneath. This is an unmasked clip that I'm putting underneath. So now that we have this mask created, it doesn't do anything yet. We actually have to either copy and paste or drag it down to the opacity or other areas for masking. I like the opacity because it then gets rid of your background essentially. If you have the person selected, or if you have the background selected, it'll get rid of the person. So it does either or. And now with the text underneath that layer, with the clean slate underneath, you now have a nicely tracked clip, and I can have the text behind the person. And it honestly takes about 30 seconds to do this. So now you can have nice, clean background text behind a person. Now you'll see if I get rid of the clean slate, it's only the person. So you could do what you want with this. You could add your own background or whatever floats your boat, but that's why you need that clean slate. So that's object masking and tracking in Premiere. You can actually straight up just track something now, whether it's a full person or just a point of interest. It's pretty sweet. The next thing here is something actually really cool that I didn't really know existed until recently, and it's actually a search AI function within your project. You can actually search for specific things, and it'll find either the text, the transcripts, the video clip, or even if you need to find a specific camera's clip. So you'll actually go to the window option up here and go to the search, and you can search everything: visuals, audio, text, or metadata, which means I can just search for girl walking, and it'll find the clip of her walking. And I have other clips of biking and stuff in here that you may see of feet moving. Down here, you'll notice there's a text option. So it actually can find text based on what you say. So if you have a clip of somebody talking and you need to find that specific clip, you can search the specific words within that and you can find that. I can also find like standing at desk, and I can find me standing here for a different vlog, which is a really cool feature. So if you have a project that has just a ton of clips or audio or anything, you can actually find that specific thing by just searching, which is a really cool AI built-in feature within Premiere. Now, on the topic of text and speech and such, there's another really cool tool that you might not know exists, or it kind of did exist, but now it's better, and it's transcribing and translating your captions. But now that I have these captions created, you can actually go to your captions area, which is under the text window if you want to open that. You can go ahead up here and hit these 3 buttons and translate captions. Now, for some reason, it thinks my auto language detected is Spanish, even though you would think the AI should be smart enough to know it's English if it can translate it well. But my language is English, of course, so I'm going to go collect that. And then I can select really any language that I really need. And so, for example, I have a wedding that I shot that was in Spanish. So I would obviously do the opposite, Spanish to English, and then I can translate. And it makes a secondary caption layer. So you could have both captions up or just one. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and just do the Spanish here, and it translates it. And this isn't just like a word for word, it's actually AI powered, so it's going to be a little bit more accurate in terms of what it says or what it reads as. It might not be perfect, but it's probably gonna be better than just Google translating Spanish to English or English to Spanish. So for me, this is useful because I actually shot a wedding that was in Spanish and I don't speak very good Spanish, so using the captions during editing will help me know what they're saying, and then I can just get rid of the captions when I'm done, which is going to be really helpful. The next thing is something that you may have heard about, and it's really cool, and it's kind of hit or miss. And it's video though, so it's only understandable that it's hit or miss. It's the generative extend tool, which allows you to extend your clips up to a certain amount of seconds. It's not that long, but you may have a clip sometimes where you're like, man, I wish it was a couple of seconds longer. It just stops at the wrong time. And for an example, I've tried to create a situation where that might be a thing. So I have this clip here where she puts her hands up and then puts them down. And I kind of want to get it a little bit longer with her hands up. So I went ahead and cut the clip here, which you'll see over here. And I went ahead and AI generated it. And what you do is you hit this generate extend tool down here, and then you drag your clip. And you'll notice it only lets me go an extra 1:23. So it's not that much extra clip, but it's just enough if you need just a little extra. And not every clip works. It does actually prompt you to make sure that the clip meets the requirements for generative extend. So that's something to look out for as well. But you could extend it just a little bit or a lot of bit. And so I'll just do maybe an extra like 1/4 of a second because maybe I don't need a ton. And I'll just, while I'm waiting for that, show you what it looks like to fully extend a full second and almost a 1/2 second and a 1/4. So this is where the clip stopped. And then after this part is extended by AI. So I'll play the whole thing here. And you can notice it actually looks pretty good and real. There's like one spot at the very end that looks a little wonky, but for the most part, that looks pretty legit. And it's just right here where you notice a little bit of that wonkiness. And the cool part is, you know, you can extend your clip a little bit, but again, I wanted her hands up and I don't really have power to tell it what I wanted to do. So it ended up using AI to put her hands down. And maybe that's because at the very end of the clip, she started to put her hands down, but you just have to be careful with how you use it because it's not always perfect. I did try it on a different clip and it failed pretty miserably, but there was a crap ton of movement in that clip, which makes sense as to why it might not be able to extend that. And I will say it does take a hot minute to extend the clip by even a second, you know, like I'm still waiting about a couple of minutes later and I've got a pretty beefy computer. All right, so here is the full clip, only extended about a 1/4 of a second, which worked pretty sweet. I mean, I didn't really notice, and if you put that in a video, I wouldn't really notice that was AI added a little bit to the end there. So it works out pretty well. And then the last tool that is no longer in beta, it's in the normal Premiere editor. If you haven't used it already, you probably should be. It's for enhancing the speech of an audio clip. If you have really bad audio, a lot of background noise, or you just want it to sound better, under the essential sound up here, you can click the type of audio it is, which for us in this case, it would be dialogue. And there's this enhance button that allows you to enhance the audio. And so it can make it go from sounding really bad or somewhat bad to really, really clean and really good. You just have to be careful with how harsh you put it up on, because the higher you make it, the more janky it kind of gets. Sometimes if there's a little bit of background noise, it tries to translate that into words. And so you'll hear like a garble of words potentially, but nothing comes out of the person's mouth. A lot of the times I find around 3 to 5 strength works really well. Other than that, once you're way past that, it kind of starts to sound bad, but it sometimes can work really well in really harsh situations. So here's what it sounds like before the enhancement. I could make that, and today we're gonna test that theory. And you notice there's a lot of echo. My room's not perfectly insulated and it just doesn't sound super clean. And if we turn that back on, and let's say we keep it around 3, and we'll look how it sounds like at 3. Now this is a very expensive motorized slider that we're not going, and we see it sounds a little bit more deep and not as echoey or not as bad essentially. Now if we go up to like at 9, it'll sound even different. This is a very expensive motorized slider that we're not going to 100% complete to. And you now see it kind of sounds like I'm talking into my mic right here, like this nicer, really close up to a mic. It still sounds really good, but it doesn't sound natural to what you're seeing. And that's kind of where it comes into being a little weird. So if I go down to like 6, you'll notice it may sound a little bit kind of more normal. Now this is a very expensive motorized slider. See, and that's kind of where I would keep it at because that sounds the best to me, whereas the 9 sounds pretty weird and then the 3 just doesn't sound strong enough, but it sounds better. So 3 to 6, in my opinion, works good here. But these are 5 AI features and tools you should be using in Premiere. Most of these you have to have the beta software right now, but if you're watching this in the future, it may be accessible already. But for the most part, you need to be using these because these will help you put out some really sweet edits. That's it for this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.